There we go. We are live, which of course means if you're watching live, it's noon Eastern time on a Wednesday. It is time for the High Noon Hemp Show. Of course, you can find us in many, many places if you want the video either live or on demand. Do it on Facebook's Temptations Beach Facebook page, the Jedi Hemp YouTube channel, or at Temptations on Twitter. The podcast, of course, Podbean, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. Just search the High Noon Hemp Show. I am Stoner Jesus. He is Beach. He's high above the Temptations.
Podbean, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. Just search.
He is high above the Temptations in Sharonville at the Hemp Quarters. Beach, how are things on this holiday week at Temptations?
That's right. It is what I call, what we have called in the past, New Stoner's Eve. Whereas if you want to bring in, 420 at midnight, which is something that we did, that was, I went originally. Welcome everyone to the High Noon Hemp Show. We'll call this the 422 Earth Day version of the show. It is true. I am high above the Sharonville location. Just to get it out of the way, the FDA has not evaluated this show for safety or efficacy. Correct. So anyway, back to my New Stoner's Eve, 419 is what we always called it. We used to do a 420 party, 420, kind of a picnic thing, or if it was nice on 420, so you can celebrate 420 on 420. And then, because everybody else, this was 25 years ago. Then all of a sudden, everybody else is starting to do their 420 events, and 420 is gaining momentum. So I'm like, let's switch it up a little bit. Let's go ahead and have a party where we bring in 420 at midnight, which then became the New Stoner's Eve party that I had every year for a long time. And then, of course, COVID shut it down, and we're not having one this year. Well, maybe next year. We'll bring back the New Stoner's Eve party, to celebrate. It's when it's on a Wednesday, it's tough to get people to come out because my friends actually have real jobs. Yes, they may be celebrating New Stoner's Eve or 420 at midnight, but they actually have real. And as the first time I did this party, I called it, it was packed from wall to wall, and again, this was, at least 20 years ago, was the first time that I probably switched it up and went to the New Stoner's Eve format, so to speak, to celebrate or to start celebrating 420. We had what I called, all the food was labeled. Because you had to know what had cannabis in it and what didn't. And so we had all these little labels, on the food to make sure people knew. And that might have been like the second or third year because people may have not known the first year. And then I have what at midnight, and I don't know, I guess I could set what I believe is the world record. Again, I should have counted the heads when we did this, but we would have what I called the biggest pass to the left. So I would get everybody in, someone was beside you. It wasn't necessarily a circle as it went around the room, but everybody was kind of like someone to the right of you, someone to the left of you, midnight, light up, and then pass to the left. We did that for years and years and years as well when there was a lot of people. So, I would guess, and again, anywhere else in the world could easily break, say, like a 42-person pass to the left.
Yeah.
So somewhere tomorrow, I'm sure. And again, I'm sure, and it's kind of funny that these aren't, like some type of world record that someone's promoting, is to have the largest pass to the left. And again, you'd have to get as many people, and again, how hard would it be to get as many people to have a hemp cigarette ready to pass or whatnot? But that was the big deal. That's how we brought in 420. And so Fun stuff. And of course, we have the 420 to Earth Day sale in the stores and online. 420 Earth is the code online if you want to shop online. And this is the biggest sale. We only have 2 sales a year: 420 to Earth Day and our anniversary sale, which happens on September 1st. And so, it's this is really a bonus for all of our customers to enjoy. Again, used to be huge, and the last couple of years, obviously, with everything that's been going on, it's been kind of slow. So we'll see what kind of day we have tomorrow, or Friday, or Saturday. It's kind of fun. This is probably one of the first times I can remember where it's, Earth Day is ending up on Saturday. And of course, I used to be a big part of Cincinnati Earth Day here in the area, which was down at Sawyer Point downtown for a long time, and is now at Summit Park in Blue Ash. And I definitely recommend, getting the kids out, getting yourself out. I think it's going to be, ironically, the worst day of the week on Saturday. It's supposed to drop in temperature and have a very good chance of rain. And that is Mother Earth reminding us that nature is what drives us. And what Earth Day reminds us of is that we all have the right to clean water, clean air, and clean soil, which produces clean food. And so, I have celebrated Earth Day just about, all the days of my life. My parents were conservative, but my mom was very earth friendly, not a hippie in any way. I grew up, if you don't know the history of me, I grew up on a self-sufficient farm in Kentucky. We grew all our own fruits, vegetables. We had chickens, turkeys on occasion. And so, we were taught to respect, I remember when my brother accidentally had a piece of paper fly out the window on our way home. And my mom stopped the car, and he got out and picked it up. That's, I remember that as a child. And again, very conservative, or pretty conservative, honestly, but still grew up in a home that understood and respected, whether I liked it or not. As a kid, I hated all the work we had to do. I can tell you, we heated our house with 2 wood burning stoves that we cut the firewood ourselves and split. And so, it was a lifestyle that honestly you would have gotten 100 years ago, and I got it in the 80s. And I have nothing but appreciation for what I'm capable of, how we lived.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Earth Day, every day. That's, we didn't, there was no recycling. I don't even know if there's really even hardly any recycling in Kentucky to this day. It's very difficult to find recycling in Kentucky, period. But we figured out how to reuse, recycle, almost everything. One way or another. I think that's one reason why I can't get rid of anything to this day, is because my mom always said that everything will have another use for the most part, and that is so very true. Although I'll say right, wrong, or indifferent, how you feel about it. Sometimes I wonder why I keep the things I keep, and then all of a sudden I'm like, hey, you know what? I can use this for this. And so, and again, to me, it's a very, because once we didn't have garbage pickup where we lived either. And again, so minimalizing the amount of garbage that went out the door was our goal, every week, every day. And so once again, for me to throw something in the trash, it's very difficult. Again, Earth Day every day. And so, and of course, hemp is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, natural product that we can give the earth back, every day as well. I used to do, and they haven't asked me, and I don't know, maybe I might have missed an email. I probably missed an email. It's possible. I used to do my hemp presentation at Earth Day in Cincinnati as well. Whether anybody showed up or not is a whole different question, but I did do it. So, and maybe I don't know if we could do that next Wednesday for Earth Day. I could do my hemp presentation on the show. And so I'll put some thought to that. That would be pretty easy, in all honesty, and give everybody the full hemp beach keynote presentation as it is. A little bit of updates here and there. All right. Well, let's get right on to the product spotlight here on the High Noon Hemp Show. 4 from the store, 1 from my door here on the 420 to Earth Day celebration show. First one is, these are the Compassionate Buds Delta 8 and Delta 10 carts. We just got a fresh batch of these in. And so that's the only Delta 10 product that we have. And, the people that use them really like them. I mean, I know I've got 1 or 2 customers in Dayton that the Delta 10 is what works for them, does what they want it to do. And so, and one of them, I believe, can't actually leave. They're, I don't know if they're bedridden or house ridden because of an illness, and they use the Delta 10 for relief. Compassionate Buds, fresh batch, Delta 8, Delta 10. This next product is actually new to us. These are the 13th floor CBD / Delta 9 gummies. And so this is just a little 3-pack, quite inexpensive. I think there's, if I remember correctly, it's kind of a weird ratio. I want to estimate it to be like a 9-to-1 ratio. So it's, I think, like right around 100 milligrams of CBD and 16 or so milligrams of THC Delta 9. And so I definitely think these are definitely on the extreme calming or sleep aid side of things, to be honest with you. Again, when I eat Delta 9, and I think a lot of our customers that use the Delta 9 gummies that we have for sleep, because again, I can physically feel myself getting tired about 15 or 20 minutes after I have a Delta 9 gummy. So, and again, you add that CBD on there, which is the calming, really calming, and that Delta 9, which is the kick on top. These should do for you what you want them to do, one way or another. 13th floor. And if you don't know, and I don't know why you would call yourself a product of something that is usually skipped, but a lot of times, because 13 was such a bad, evil number, hotels and whatnot didn't have a 13th floor. Mm-hmm. It was straight from 12 to 14. And that's how they did it, which to me is crazy, but that's how people can be, one way or another. Just got ourselves a fresh batch of the Homestead Alternative chocolates in caramel. So again, these come in either a 3-bag, the little package, or a 10-bag. Which is the larger package. I will have to say that the caramels are probably one of the more popular forms in the store. People really like getting in, and again, it to me, it makes sense, because with the caramel, you have to, once again, you're chewing it up in your mouth, and you're letting that CBD and that get underneath your tongue and straight into the bloodstream. just like that's how you should do a gummy. If you're using a gummy, you really want to chew it up and let that get underneath the tongue and get into the bloodstream instantly. And then you're also swallowing it and getting it running through the gut system and working its way through your system that way. And so that's why gummies are a very good transition for any type of medicine that you want to go right into the bloodstream. When you chew it up, in your mouth, and take 30 seconds to really chew it up in your mouth. I tell people to even let that gummy sit, little pieces of that gummy sit under your tongue, and really let it absorb in. The same thing for the caramel. You got to take if you eat your piece of caramel any faster than in a minute, you're just wasting the great principles. Be patient with it. Be patient with it. Enjoy it for one thing, and then once again, you're allowing that CBD to get under the tongue, in the mouth, and then running through the system as well. So, very, very popular form for the CBD, and we have Delta 9 caramels as well. Actually, also very popular. The next one here. Now I think I just showed these smacked D8 gummies, but they have now doubled the package, and this is a crazy deal. So for double the amount of Delta 8 in these gummies, we only had to add like $10 to the price. And so this is now a 5,000 milligram package of Delta 8 gummies for a little over $50, which is just, and we were doing the 2,500s for like a little over 40. And so, what a great bargain they're giving us, and that we are passing on to the customer. I feel like anytime you can double the amount of something and only have to charge a fifth, we only had to up the price a fifth, basically, of what it was. That's good. And then in this economy,
yeah,
who wouldn't want that? We can offer better deals. And the good reason, one of the reasons is, ironically, is because these are mostly American grown, processed, and made products. We're not importing. I can't imagine. When we first started selling CBD, we had to import it. There was no legal way to get it in the United States. Because it came from mostly China at the time, and I was always quoted the source code came from industrial hemp, and that was the original whole plant. So I think they pressed the whole plant, and that would be the oil that they got was the first CBD oils, and it was completely legal, but everything was imported, and now. I can't imagine, maybe it might come from Canada, but at this point, almost all these products, including our line of CBD and Delta 9 and Delta 8, we have all of that, all our own line, all basically grown in Kentucky, processed in Kentucky, manufactured in Kentucky. And that's the supply line we want for everything, whether it's fiber, grain, or CBD or whatever. It should all be grown everywhere, be super close. Shouldn't have to get on a ship from across the world and travel here. And again, I'm a one world person. I'm not trying to take anything away from anyone else, but at the very least, the environmentalist in me says what's best for the planet is we grow our products locally, make our products locally, keep our products local, and no fuels being used at the very least, and so that to reduce carbon emissions and to get the planet back to a healthy air, healthy water, healthy soil environment. And we can do that with hemp. 100%. We can do that with hemp, no matter what form we want. And we should. All right. Well, there's 4 from the store. Now, the one from my door is kind of special. It's kind of special to my heart this week because this particular bar soap kit was given to me by my oldest son for my birthday. And so I have to admit, he of course he knows I love him, but the rest of the little stuff was like Beatles stuff. The kid really knows me. And so I definitely I just got this recently, and it's so awesome. So I really do look forward to busting out these exfoliating bar soaps in the shower. And I know I like most. I guess what's interesting about the lavender vanilla. My brain still hasn't decided on whether it likes some forms of lavender, but I don't know if it likes. I love the smell of lavender, like the natural smell of lavender, but I don't know if I like the fake smell of lavender. Now, of course, these are probably not. None of this should hopefully be any fake scents. I would only hope that they're usually natural scents in this bar soap. But so anyway, there's the one from my door. Great birthday present from my oldest son. 3 bars of exfoliating bar soap, and they came together. I'm not sure where he found them. I haven't even asked him where they found them, but again, it's everywhere. So keep your eyes open, folks. There you have it on the product spotlight here on the High Noon Hemp Show. 4 from the store, 1 from my door. And now,
many of you may be wondering, what does the man who has probably the largest collection of hemp clothing on the entire planet, what does he wear the day before 420? Well, you're lucky because it just so happens that Beach is that man, and it is the day before 420, and I can just ask him straight out, what are you wearing, Beach?
In order to celebrate not only 420, but what I call 421 is Having Temptations Day and Earth Day, what I am wearing is purple and green. Purple and green are the store colors. If you don't know, purple and green are, my favorite color combination for the last, 20. We're going to celebrate 28 years. This is the 27th year of the 420 to Earth Day sale. I think if the math works out right, we've been open we'll be open for 28 years, September 1st. I know we probably didn't have a sale the first year somehow anyway, but so I figure purple and green is a good 420 Having Temptations Day, Earth Day outfit. So up top there, my Satori movement grassroots mountain hat. Got a hemp hoodlam high hoodie. My shirt is God Bless the Freaks, which I think sums up probably all 3 of those days as well. It definitely does to the outsiders. And that was made by the Evergreen Hemp Company. And we got those because we were selling Mountain Freak. We had Mountain Freak magazine back in the day. And I have a Mountain Freak hemp hat as well. And so this was kind of part of the Mountain Freak. And again, this was 20 years ago. The magazine does not exist anymore, but this was like their gear was a lot of hemp stuff, which was pretty awesome. My pants are an old school pair of Just Naturel. Again, these are probably a pair of 20-year-old pants for sure. I just kind of rediscovered them. They were tucked away. And then in the pocket there, of course, you see my Green Springs technology pen, which I carry pretty much every day with me as well. Underneath it all, some Satori briefs. My socks are also made by Satori. And then, of course, getting me where I need to go is a pair of my Adidas. Now, again, I don't wear these Adidas very often, but, when I get a chance, I like to show them off. These were probably this was probably one of my first pair of non-shell toe hemp Adidas. So that's when Adidas released their hemp lines. They started with what was called the super modified shell toe, and that was the hemp ones. And of course, I have a pair of I think blue, green, and black in those, which I don't wear very often because I wore them a lot back in the day, and so I don't wear them very often now. But I really feel like these might have been like one of my first pairs of non-shell toe hemp shoes. Love the bright green, no doubt about it. So there you have it, folks. If you're going to be celebrating 420 or having Hemptations Day or Earth Day, maybe you want to dress in a little purple and green. Do it in hemp if you can.
That's right.
I feel like what's interesting, it's not like it's something that happened because, of course, St. Patrick's Day already owns wear green on St. Patrick's Day. But I really do feel like, wearing green on 420 makes sense. I feel like wearing blue on Earth Day makes sense, honestly. Like a light blue, or like sky blue, and what we would want the color of the ocean to be, which is really green, all in all, on this, what we call the big blue marble. But a lovely shade of blue is a healthy planet, I think, somehow, some way. I don't know. At least in my mind, I believe that. All right, well, we're going to get to the news, but first, here's here's some words from me.
Hemptation's 420 to Earth Day sale is upon us. Everything store-wide for 20% off and maybe higher. Enjoy the annual 420 to Earth Day 422 sale so you can enjoy you and the planet. Hemptations carries the largest selection of hemp goods on the planet because it's so good for the planet. Either way, get to one of the Hemptations locations and get everything for 20% off between 420 and 422. Having Hemptations?
There you go.
And just for reference, folks, you can see that was one of the older commercials. One of those locations no longer exists, but we have two to replace it. So, not only are we still in O'Brienville on Madison Road, we're in Sharonville, here on Lebanon Road, we're in Northside on Hamilton Road, and in Dayton on Wilmington. And so you can go to the website, hemptations.com, and get all that info if you so desire. Well, all right, let's get on to the hemp news. Get everybody on to their. It's probably going to be a beautiful day. It's one of those, like, it's raising in temperature it was like 40 degrees when I woke up this morning, and I think it's almost supposed to get to 80 this afternoon. So, here we go. 2 days of 80s and then back into the 50s.
That's right.
But I love it. I love it. Once again, I'll say it as many times as possible. I would rather live somewhere where the weather changes on a semi-consistent basis than somewhere where the weather's all the same, even if it's beautiful. Honestly, I can take the good with the bad. I don't mind a rainy day. I don't mind cold days just as much as I love a nice warm day, nice spring day. Right. But not a big, huge fan of hot, but I can take it. Anyway, so what's going on in the world of hemp? Jane Fonda is keeping her youthful looks. I believe she's almost 80 or close to 80, but has recently admitted that she uses hemp cream on a regular basis on her skin, and thinks that really, really helps one way or another, which is true. Again, hemp for the skin is just as good as the hemp for the body when we eat it. Check out these shoes. I'm not a big fan of Kickstarter, but on occasion, I'm okay with it. These are called the Zebra Oasis. Okay. Now, obviously, the hemp uppers, is all hemp, and but the other really cool thing about this is the fact that these are 100% recyclable shoes. Okay, now the other recent shoe company, and I can't believe I'm going to flake, but I've shown them a couple times, and they have a bag too. I believe that they were bragging about how they were kind of one of the first compostable, tennis shoes. And so these are recyclable, and they actually show you how, once you're done with the shoe, how to break it all down into the parts that need to be divided up to be recycled. So pretty neat, pretty good idea. The article was they had sent this reporter a pair of these, and she thought they were really comfortable, nice, breathable. And the interesting thing is, she mentioned that wearing socks with them almost seemed unreasonable. Of course, it depends on how warm or cold it is, I suppose, because the uppers are so breathable that you don't really have to wear socks. So I would definitely like to put that one to the test. Because if you could prove that, that's great. And of course, hemp itself is, antibacterial, antimicrobial, all the good antis. And so, it would be a better material one way or another to surround your foot. And so, Zebra Oasis on Kickstarter now. So hopefully they'll do well on Kickstarter, and it will just become a product that you can buy anytime at their website or whatever. This is kind of interesting, but Finland is making HHC illegal. Again, HHC is instead of tetra, it's hydra. Tetrahydra. Wait a minute. Is that possible? Hydra cannabinol. Anyway, we have seen HHC show up a little bit. We had some HHC disposables. It was okay, but I don't think the customers were really. It's supposed to be pretty powerful, and so we can maybe get it back in. But Finland's going to make it illegal. Looks like Sweden's going to go after it too, and so it's kind of an interesting. Here it's all about Delta 8. And Delta 9's not even an interesting issue yet, but will be soon enough, because everybody's still all up in arms about Delta 8 here in the United States, which again is something legally we get from industrial hemp, just like Delta 9, Delta 10, THCP, THCO, and some of these other cannabinoids and whatnot that we can legally sell over the counter at Hemptations, federally legal, because they're made from industrial hemp and legal in the state of Ohio. And I don't think Ohio's so far so good. Ohio's not trying to do anything radical that I know of. And so knock on your hemp desk if you have one. I am not a superstitious person, but I do superstitious things. So anyway, this is kind of fun. Check out this chair. This chair is designed by M4 Factory. I believe it's over in Europe. And it is injection molded hemp composite frame, hemp foam cushions encased in hemp bio leather. They're touting or saying that this is the first injection molded chair that is also compostable. So once again, your chair breaks or something happens in the future, you can literally take it and go bury it in the backyard or throw it in your compost pile and it will break down. Now, I think to be compostable, I believe that's like a 9-month time period at least. It has to break down within 9 months to be considered compostable. At the very least, biodegradable, but they're saying compostable. And biodegradable just means you can take however long, but eventually it all breaks down and goes back to nature, where I believe for something to be compostable, there's a time period there that they want it to break down in for your compost pile, which and then you can take it and use it wherever. And so this is really neat. Again, I love this setup. Apparently it comes in that package up top or the package that's hanging like in the back of the display. So it comes in that, which is also made of hemp and is compostable. And then I think you put the chair together yourself or it folds up. I'm not positive. It's very possible it folds up. And it really does look like that stage that they've got it on in that bottom photo is made out of hemp brick. And then hopefully, that's hemp fiber running around the curtains are made out of hemp fiber. And again, in a perfect world, that's how it should be. That's 100% how it's a great hemp product, especially a 100% hemp product. And of course, the article was titled, "Does the World Need Another Chair?" Which one could argue we may not need to make any more chairs in the world, though we do have enough chairs. But it was really looking at sustainable, earth-friendly ideas one way or another. So pretty cool chair, no doubt about it. And again, just shows as far as hemp as a composite, what we can do with it. Hemp is a fiber with the synthetic bio leather. No, it's not synthetic. It's just hemp bio leather. How they make it, I don't know. But they did, there's kind of a picture where they were kind of stretching it like you can do real leather, which I thought was very interesting. And so, if we can think about replacing all the leather, think of how happy the cows will be to keep their skin in the world. If we could just replace all the leather out there with hemp bio leather. Again, man, happy cows indeed. Happy cows indeed. If we can think of one more reason to use the cow, and again, the cow is 100% used. That's the one, if you want to say good thing about cows, is when they are killed for everything. It's everything. Every part of their body. 100% of the cow's body gets used for something. Right, wrong, or indifferent. And again, yes, I would like to limit that as much as possible. The world doesn't need more cows, but we could use less cows. That's for sure. Florida, man, Florida's doing the right thing. Okay, they took out OUT, and that quoted the politician. That's what he said. We're taking out OUT, the limits of Delta 9 and synthetic derived cannabinoids. So basically, what they were doing is trying to limit 2 milligrams of Delta 9 to any product. Okay, now once again, if you have full spectrum CBD, you have a certain amount of, again, that would limit how much full spectrum CBD you could put in a product. And once again, there's no reason to limit, because all I saw that doing is okay, so you're going to force everyone to then make everything packaged in a 2 milligram Delta 9. So it's like every gummy would be a single package, so you could have 2 milligrams in that gummy. And again, it wouldn't, and that's all they would do. And so you'd have to buy, 50 gummies to get 100 milligrams of Delta 9, but that's where that market would go to. So, and again, what it would really do is limit the amount of, once again, CBD that you could put, full spectrum CBD that you could put in any package. Because once you get to a certain amount of CBD, full spectrum CBD, then you get to that certain amount of legal Delta 9. And so I don't know where those numbers are. If anybody wants to work those numbers somehow and let me know how many, milligrams of produce, if it was 0.3% THC extracted, gets you to 2 milligrams, and it probably isn't a whole lot. And, this was a per package is what they were trying to do. But they took it all out. And basically, from my understanding, only really kept at this point the 21 and older age, which again is what Virginia just recently did, I believe. Again, we're going to see, this is the next movement in legal industrial hemp products in states, is age requirements for them. And so, we'll see. We don't sell anything to anyone under 18, although I will sell a CBD product to someone under 18. There is no age restrictions, and I do not feel, again, when the only FDA CBD drug approved is for children, we cannot feel like we shouldn't sell kids CBD. The other reason that I do believe that we are doing no harm by this is the fact that child suicide, teenage suicide rates, and teenage depression is on the uptake. And so, I'd rather think a kid can come into Hemptations and get themselves some CBD gummies or CBD tincture and, help with their anxiety and depression and these things, then they resort to either nothing or some pharmaceutical, that their doctors want to give them.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt in my mind there. A responsible parent, in my opinion, would allow their children access to CBD for any reason, and would definitely not deny their child access to CBD if they thought it could help them. My opinion, one way or another. Speaking of the FDA, there is now a congressional committee investigating the FDA's decision not to regulate CBD. This is like, they want emails, they want all the discussions and all the discussion notes as to how or why the FDA has now kind of turned tail and said, we're not going to do this. We're not going to think about it. We're not going to discuss it anymore. We're just not going to do it. It's not going to be on our shoulders. And it needs to be on their shoulders. And they need to explain. And I totally agree with this. And this is great. There was a bill that they were trying to push through that would have forced the FDA to do this. Hopefully now this bill forced this congressional committee to say, we want to know what's your reasoning here, FDA, for this, because it's important. It's probably the biggest issue the FDA has faced, and maybe that's their problem, is they're scared, but they're scared to make the right decision, which is to say CBD is fine. CBD is GRAS, generally regarded as safe. Okay. But not willing to look into that or, tell us why they're not going to, does not help any of the millions of citizens in the United States used or have used CBD.
Yeah.
Millions. Okay, this is not just a small little, um, rogue category of people. This is a lot of humans that have found relief using CBD. And again, we found out it's 100% safe to drive. A European study, 100% safe to consume and drive. And I would think that really, if nothing else, short term, that it's already been proven that that's safe. So the FDA should be good there. Whereas Tylenol, they've got warnings on them. Do not operate heavy machinery and whatnot. You would not have to put that on CBD. I don't think. Delta 9, yes. Delta 8 even might have a do not operate heavy machinery warning on it. But CBD, no. It doesn't need it. And then, of course, if there are long-term effects that the FDA is worried about with the human consumption of CBD, then prove those long-term effects exist. And so I don't know in the past how many products were over-the-counter legal, approved by the FDA, until years and years and years later, they started to figure out that they weren't healthy. Again, if there are serious long-term side effects to using CBD, then it is the responsible thing to do to keep us from using it, or to regulate it differently, possibly. But if there aren't, then we should be fine, and we should be allowed as consumers to feel safe, and as retailers or as manufacturers to feel safe about putting on the label how many milligrams of CBD are in there. Any type of warning that we may need. Maybe if it does cause liver damage, then maybe that warning needs to be on there. Long-term use, but we need to prove that first. I mean, geez, oh, Pete's, cigarettes were illegal for like a bazillion years, and everyone knew they were unhealthy, and they were still and they're still legal, and everyone knows they're unhealthy, and the FDA won't let us have CBD, or won't let us legitimize CBD in the world, in the market, in the United States, whatever. And so hopefully this pressure from this congressional committee can get some answers somehow from the FDA as to why they're doing what they're doing, and if not, just put some more pressure on them to do something. Okay. Oh, hey, how about some clarity in that cattle study? I've been talking about those headlines. Stoned cows. Cows that consume THC got stoned, which were total lies, okay, for the most part. They were just meant to get, I think, people's attention, because the cows did not get stoned. But now what I have found from the study, okay, is that CBD and THC showed up sporadically in the cows, and they were fed hemp seed cake. And so basically what hemp seed cake is you just take the whole seed and you basically press it. Okay, now that usually takes the oil out of it, but leaves the shell and some. And that's what these cattle were fed. Okay. Now, the amount of CBD and THC that showed up sporadically in the cattle was 10 parts per billion. Okay. That is a tiny, tiny, tiny amount. Okay. Study also showed, and this was what's interesting, is the hemp seed cake itself was so low in CBD and THC, it was non-detectable. And so once again, and I've said this because as far as I know, this is what science says. This is kind of weird. CBD, THC, that's not in the seed. It's not in the seed. And them saying that the hemp seed cake didn't have any or so low it was undetectable makes sense. I don't know how these 10 parts per billion of CBD and THC ended up getting in the cattle system. Again, in a tiny, tiny amount. It did not. And again, there was no detectable amounts in any of like the liver or the muscle or anything. And so not even the 10 parts per billion. That just somehow showed up in the blood in the urine of these cattle. But it did not transfer into the viable, I would say, edible parts of the cow, which is the concern the USDA is concerned about. But the USDA does say that hemp seed cake is a viable alternative to cattle feed. So, I think once we get a truly, look into this, I'm going to look into that statement because I have not seen that statement before as a part of this. And again, obviously it was going to take time for them to possibly, get the results, make sure it's all right, and then make a judgment call on it. But if the USDA has now officially stating that hemp seed cake is a viable alternative, then we can start feeding our livestock hemp seed cake and then taking that livestock to market. So it's going to be an interesting one. This is, once again, huge for the livestock market, and especially, feeding hemp to cattle, which can only be a good thing. It does not make them stoned. I promise you. And even if it does, I'd rather be a stoned cow on death row than a non-stoned cow on death row. I'm just saying. That's the reality of the situation. And for anybody that's concerned, obviously, none of that is going to make it into a product that you're going to use one way or another. So, I found this article on best eyelash serums. Here is this is milk makeup, and it's called Kush Lash Brow Serum. Lash Plus Brow Serum. I love that it's called Kush, of course. And of course, they're just using, I believe, hemp seed oil. But they were on this. I think there were probably like 6 or so eyelash growth serums on this list of best eyelash serums. They were the best plant-based eyelash serum. And of course, that's exactly what we want. And I was talking about recently, it was Lizzo uses hemp eyelashes, fake eyelashes, I believe, or sometimes something on her eyelashes. Maybe it's a serum. I don't know. And so there you go. Hemp for the eyelashes because it's good for every other part of the body. Why not the eyelashes?
Yeah.
How about this cool little dwelling? This is BC University, and the BC University students designed this 2,400 square foot teaching and learning space. Again, they believe this is like the first of its kind in Canada. I'm not real sure about using hempcrete and whatnot in things. It was kind of neat because the organization that actually took place in this was mostly women, or the organization itself is mostly women that was behind the design and building of this hempcrete meeting area. And so, and again, hempcrete and hemp construction, I don't know that there's been a show, maybe last week's, because I don't remember talking about it, but that there's been a show in a long time where I have not talked about hempcrete or a hempcrete building or something new with hempcrete. And so, and again, this is a university. They feel trusted enough to build the building and secure their students and faculty in it. And so must be okay. Must be okay. So, and I will have to say that the BC is very cannabis friendly. So it doesn't surprise me that in Canada, this was the area of Canada. I think the other place that it would probably, something like this would happen might be like Manitoba, where I think the part of the largest amount of growing for grain goes on in Canada. And so, once again, this is the byproduct of the grain industry. They can make these hempcrete walls out of what's left over after the grain companies get their grain out of the hemp fields. So I can only imagine that, Canada is going to, if they're smart, jump to the top of construction material, even if it's, say, insulation and or hempcrete materials, because they are such a large producer of grain already. And so they come along, man, they get their grain off the top of those plants, and then all those stocks just go in a big pile. My understanding is, and I don't know if it's, hopefully it's happening less and less, is at the end of the years, they would just burn that. And then hopefully use that ash maybe as fertilizer or something, but it was just waste from the stalk, from the, flower down, which was where they got the seed. Total waste. And again, you can make a chair out of it, out of that material. Well, you need the seed actually to do that composite, so it's not a byproduct anymore or leftover product. But, insulation, hempcrete, all that stuff could come from what was left over from the grain industry when you grow for grain or you grow for flour, period. I don't care if it's CBD flour, grain flour, that stalk has fiber in it. It's got what we call bast or shiv, which is the little chips, which is, everything from hempcrete to animal bedding, one way or another. So cool. Good job, BC University students. Reader's Digest article. How about that? Which I really like this picture. I think this was the last picture I sent over, which is kind of fun. This is a Reader's Digest article, but the article was titled Sustainable Interior Design, Which Materials Are Greenest? And guess what was number one on the list? That's right, hemp. Even Reader's Digest is willing to tell you. And that's a family magazine, folks. It's a family magazine. Willing to tell you that the greenest material is hemp. And so once again, I think, we're going to start seeing a lot more from everything from curtains to, hopefully couching coverings and all these things, being hemp fiber or hemp material one way or another. And so, speaking of that, so I found out that the global industrial hemp market was worth almost $5 billion in 2021. And again, probably the peak of CBD sales on top of that. But the most interesting thing is the forecast. And again, I've seen as high as $30 billion industry by 2030. 30-30 makes sense. And so, but the biggest growth that they're predicting is in the hemp fiber industry. And so, industry wise makes perfectly good sense because right now the fiber is the least used part of the industry. Okay, we've already built a huge grain industry in the world. Again, Canada grows mostly for the grain, but that food industry has been growing for 20 years, and it's still every day more and more because every day it's added to someone's superfood list. and we're going to find hemp in more and more foods as we move forward. Obviously CBD was probably the largest percentage of that at the time, and then fiber was probably the last. And we have seen just in the last 2 years, from 2021 and 2023, in my opinion, a huge growth and that's why they're predicting it to get bigger in the actual hemp fiber for clothing, accessories, and all those things. And so, again, ironically, if you know the story of Hemptations, you know that was really the number one reason I wanted to have hemp legal for our farmers to grow when we opened in 1995, was to replace all the cotton. Now the goal is to replace not just the cotton, but the synthetic, because the synthetic material, as I just reported, is 70% of our clothing. Most people's clothing, not my clothing, not this guy's clothing. 70% of the clothing out there is synthetic. Okay. Yes, I understand, synthetic clothing lasts so much longer. The negative part is A, you have synthetic waste when you're making that clothing, and B, we're now finding microplastics and nanoplastics that come from this clothing. Okay, goes through the water system. When you wash it, tiny amounts of that nanoplastic comes off, gets in the water systems, never filtered, gets into the water. We're finding that at the deepest part of the oceans, and we're finding it at the highest parts on the top of the Himalayan mountains in the air are nanoplastics. Okay, and those are coming from the use of synthetic fiber in human clothing or clothing period, animal clothing, whatever. And so, cotton, leading user of all chemicals of any agricultural crop, herbicides and pesticides, and takes an amazing amount of water to produce into clothing. Or synthetic, which isn't real. The planet never breaks it down. Okay, and that synthetic outfit could go to the landfill and sit in the landfill for hundreds of years, leaching nanochemicals into the soil, into the waterway, and so on and so on. Nanoplastics is the new thing that we're kind of coming to terms with as something that's a reality of humans. Once again, if 70% of our clothing is made out of synthetic, then at this point we are throwing a lot of nanoplastic into the world. And again, it's found from the deepest oceans to the highest planets. And it's getting into the fish for sure. We're finding a lot of plastic in fish. So, more hemp, less all that stuff, cleaner planet. Ta-da! No more High Noon Hemp Show. Until then, we're going to have the High Noon Hemp Show right here. Thank you for watching, by the way, everyone. If you're watching live or on YouTube at the Jedi Hemp channel, there's not a whole lot of events going on. And so I answered all the questions. I gave you all my thoughts. We'll be back next week. Maybe if I decide I want to, I will do my hemp keynote presentation. And if not, I may just record my hemp keynote presentation. I don't have a video of it, which would be very easy to make. And then get that out there for the world to view if they so desire. For now, reduce, reuse, recycle. Enjoy 420. Enjoy Hemptations Day. Enjoy Earth Day. Make everything else out of hemp. Having Hemptations.
See y'all next week.